Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. We on part 24. Thank you so much for your support, man. I just want to first thank everybody, man, that supports me, gives me encouragement in my journey, man. You know, it's greatly appreciated, man. It helps me a lot too, you know, because I need that, man. But anyway, we on part 24. I'm on my way to work right now. For those of you that don't know, you know, I do DoorDash as a side hustle, but my primary work is I'm an HVAC technician, you know, so I'm getting ready to step out right now and get some work done, you know. My boss is gonna start sending me out on jobs by myself. So man, I gotta step it up. I'm a little nervous. You know what I mean? But I got this. I learned enough. I just gotta, you know, sometimes you gotta just jump in the water, man. And when you jump in the water and you relax and you paddle the right way, you won't sink. So I'm trying to get past that right now. And so anyway, I'm on my way there now, about 12 minutes out. So I figure I just drop part 24 while I'm on my way there. You know, so yeah, man. So I got the paperwork, family. I got my license. That's what, you know, that's what they call it in the feds, man. Having your license. Being able to drive, you know, you on the streets driving, the highway driving, you know, you get pulled over, you want to make sure that you got license to drive. So you don't want to be you know, driving like that without no license. So I got my license, man. Brought my paperwork out, you know. Obviously, you know, I didn't understand what to bring out, so I brought every damn thing out. So, you know, I was able to get my my transcripts, sentencing transcripts and all that, and showed it to the people I needed to show it to, and they stamped me now. I'm certified. I'm in. I'm a made man now. Nah, I'm just kidding, but I'm good, man. You know, I can walk the yard now, and I can do whatever I want. You know, at the time, I'm not a big gambler like that. You know, I played a few tickets here and there. You know, wasn't real good at it, but nonetheless, I played it, hit a few times, lost a whole bunch of times. And, you know, but at that particular time, family, you know, I was real miserable, just to be completely honest. I was miserable because I had 20 years to do, man. And I felt like, you know, it was everybody else's fault but mine while I was in there. So I was in a state of complete misery and I needed company. You know how they say misery loves company? That was me. I was miserable and I needed some company, and guess what? I was gonna go out and try to find a company to be miserable with me. So that's what I did. You know, I was very active on the yard. At that particular time in California, it was only about, I'ma say, if I'm guessing right, maybe about 4 of us that were actively participating. What I mean by actively participating, you know, involved in the activity of the car, the New York car. You know, we active, we on deck. When it's go time, we there. We not, you know. Oh man, bugging the fuck up. Yeah, we not faking. We not doing none of the above. We just, you know, we ready to put in some pain. You know, so. We had to run a tight ship, you know, because we were so small in numbers that we had to, you know, we had to run a tight ship. So we had to be extremely aggressive in order to get the respect that we needed to survive on that yard, you know. And that's what we did, you know. Most people, you know, I'm not making it a New York thing or you know, bigging up New York or anything like that just because I'm from New York. But it is what it is, and I'm just speaking facts. You know, we respected all throughout the system, the federal system. You know, because you know, some of the work we put in, the good men that put in work and established things for us, and you know, we're a large city, so a lot of people. Oh, excuse me, this thing done fell down. A lot of people you know, love New Yorkers. You know, there's a lot of good men that did a lot of good things, build, you know, strong relationships with those that's not from New York. So, you know, we well respected, you know. in other locations. So, our thing was, we gonna run a tight ship as far as we gonna make sure when these guys come here from New York, paperwork got to be straight. So one of the things with California, what the feds would do is the guys that's not good, meaning they cooperated, they're hot, they told on somebody, gave somebody a life sentence, 10 years, 5, whatever the case is, they just cooperated on somebody. They will hide them in California. In California prisons, they'll hide them there because it's so far away from New York. They figure they can make it there. So, these men, they would send them there, and that's what they did. The first incident that I can recall that we had was a Spanish guy there with us from the Bronx. I won't mention his name, but shout out, man. Look, shout out to my man Smurf, man, from Webster Projects in the Bronx, man. Man, if you listen, man, if you listening and you tapping and you know what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? That's my man. That's it was pretty much me and him, dealing with all the issues of the car. He was there before me, so he was already kind of locked in with, a lot of the guys from California, but that's my man right there. We, when I went to lockup, he was there before me, and we ended up becoming cellmates in lockup, in solitary confinement, you know what I mean? But I'll get into the reason why I went there. It's a big thing with that. We gonna get into all that. Don't be patient with me. We're gonna get into all of that. But so we had a Spanish guy from the Bronx there too, Puerto Rican guy. He had about a year left to go home. So he was active, but we kind of kept him protected, because look, you going home, so we gonna deal with all the dirty work. You just kind of stay clear, man. We got this, that kind of thing. So, he was like, he wanted to be able to vibe with a Spanish person from around the way, you know what I mean? So we was in commissary one day, the way they do commissary over there at lunchtime, you can go and, buy ice cream, ices and things like that. So we'll go inside the commissary department and see who's ever shopping that day, kind of get them to, man, buy me an icy or something like that. Real nice ices, street ices, street ice creams and things like that they had. So we will go in there, and that's what me and Smurf would do, you know what I mean? And so the Spanish guy that was, in the car with us, he was in there. He was shopping that day. So I'm like, man, give me an ice cream, man. He's like, I got you. He's like, yo, this is a new homie right here. That's, that's the lingo we use in the Fed. If you in our car, no matter what state you're from, if you in our car, they consider you as a homeboy, whatever, whatever the case is. That's the lingo. So, it was a Spanish guy in there with him. He was like, yeah, this the new homie, you know what I mean? I was like, okay. And I'm looking at the guy, One of the things about me, all my life, I'm very observant. So I kind of sit back and I could kind of read energy, and things like that. So I'm watching the guy and I see all these tattoos on his neck. I pay attention to those things. Those are very important, because that tells a lot about the person. Not everything about the person, but it's going to tell a lot about where the person is at, the experiences and things like that. So I see, all the Latin King tattoos, the crowns and all that on his neck. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I kind of asked him, what type of time you on? What you on, gang time? You on New York time? So he like, nah, I'm straight New York. You know what I'm saying? I'm straight on black time. Look at my face, man. You act as though I didn't just see all the Latin King paraphernalia tatted all on your neck, and you gonna tell me you want straight black time. Okay, strike number one. Then he proceeds to tell me, I know about the paperwork and all. I know I got 90 days. So I said, let me stop you real quick. I said, yes, paperwork is required here, but let me correct you. You don't have 90 days. You got 30 days on it. I don't know how they was doing it, where you came from, whatever the case is, but you got 30 days. You know, you can get an extension if if you can show that you filed it and the court's just taking kind of long to send it to you, but you got 30 days. He's like, oh, yeah, for sure. But he was so animated that I just felt something was off with this guy. And I told my man Smurf, I said, yo, I don't got a good vibe about this dude right here. So, we gonna have to keep a good eye on him, and make sure that, who he say he is, you know what I mean? And so that's what we did. Smurf was like, all right, say no more. We're gonna keep an eye on him. So, he's on the compound. We go to education this one evening to kind of, sometime off, from time to time we meet up there and discuss whatever we need to discuss in terms of, business of the car and, moves that we want to make or whatever the case is. So, he's in education. So animated. Yeah, for those of y'all that know New York, sometimes, man, I'm not gonna lie, I'm from New York, but some of us can be so animated where we take the A out of animation and we just take it to a whole nother dimension and just be over exaggerating with that. And to me, that's a smoke screen. You hiding something. So, I'ma stop right here on this part, and the next part, we gonna get into him. We're going to start right off on him, and we're going to get to business. So thank you, family, for tuning in. I'm now pulling up in my job. I want to thank you so much for listening. I thank you so much for your support, man. I don't get a lot of love like I should be, and that's okay. A lot of people ain't going to take to me like that, and that's okay. But, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go to subscribe, hit the like button, also share. And I'm leaving you as I always do. Remember, your potential for greatness is unlimited.